Bonjour everybody, I just want to talk a little bit about my most recent project in West Duluth, which was on the side of the Zenith Bookstore on a 90-foot wide wall. The project is my biggest mural to date, so I definitely took some notes that I'd like to share with you and a little bit about how that process went. This location is a very nice indie bookstore, locally owned, and a lot of local artists and authors get their books on the shelves here. If you haven't been to it, I definitely recommend to stop. 5 years ago, the owner of Zenith Bookstore, Bob DeBro, talked to me about this wall, and I produced this rough sketch. And a lot of things happened before it got up and running, but 5 years later, I was able to bring that rough sketch into Procreate and put together a more developed drawing based on the specs of the wall. And when doing that drawing, I made it a full color render using about 9 colors on a swatch that I decided on. As I progressed, I kind of moved things around a little bit and came up with this full blueprint. This image is composed of a lot of representational stuff that I think about when I think about living on Lake Superior in Duluth, Minnesota. And as always, story is the core component. And for the image of the mom reading to the child, I was able to get Tashia to pose with our 17-month-old son, Minnow. It was easy to get the colors that I needed mixed at Menards. I got a primer paint mix called Dutch Boy Forever, along with some brushes, rollers, buckets, and a gang of Gatorade.
I have no idea what he's doing now.
I gotta admit, I kind of wondered what the heck I was doing too, but I did have a plan. And that plan was to use a method that I've seen muralists use called a doodle grid. The doodle grid method is a grid, essentially, and you use it to place your drawing. I took a picture with my iPad and used Procreate to layer my drawing over the doodle grid to get it where I wanted it to be on the wall. After I got that positioned and looking the way that I wanted it to look, I went back to the wall and used a combination of spray paint and a brush to get things outlined. Once I got my outlines looking right and I was pretty happy with the way things were looking, I grabbed some rollers and brushes and started to put some color in. And I got a visit from Mike Schultz, a documentary filmmaker who stopped by with his drone. I worked Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday I got rained out, but Friday I was back on the wall. This orange was giving me a little trouble. It took a lot of coats to get it to where it was, but I thought it was looking right, and I was ready to call that part of the mural done. Having lost a couple days during the week, I wanted to take advantage of the weekend to get down to the mural and do some work. I wanted to get this project done in 10 days, and at this point, after 2 rain days during the week, I wanted to move fast to the next part of the mural, which was a lot of graphics and text, so I started to block everything in and get it to look right. In order to get some of the text on, I used something called the tape grid, which is much like the doodle grid. You use the placement of the tape to get your text on, and then you go in and use that picture on your phone to use chalk to do the outlines, after which you would ideally go over that with paint. I had to call it a night, and I hadn't gotten a chance to put the paint on the outlines, and it started to rain and washed all of my outlines away. So the next day I came back and started working on the other half of the wall, putting this tasty red gumball color on and using rollers on the end of sticks to get up to the top where I couldn't reach because my lift that I had rented would not go up. It started making a crazy noise at me every time that I was trying to get it higher, and what that noise was letting me know that the ground is uneven and therefore a little too dangerous for the lift to go up. So after doing a little research, I realized that I needed a self-leveling lift, and this little guy right here was just the ticket. So I put that thing on reserve for a Friday delivery, and until then, I just went back and blocked everything in that I could, knowing that when that other lift showed up, it was going to be pretty expensive. And on Friday morning when it came, I was flying high. I got a lot of good work done. I went all the way across the top and got points where I couldn't reach before with the scissors lift. The bucket lift is definitely the way to go if you can work it into your budget on a project. I had 2 days left to finish. And Saturday morning, Mary Jane Mansfeld came through. She's a friend of mine who works with the Hennepin Theater Trust and is on their public arts team. She has a lot of experience. She's a legend in coordinating and curating murals throughout Minneapolis. And it was great to have her help me bring this project to the last leg of the race. And by Sunday night, everything had been put in place. I gotta admit, I was sore. I had a sore neck, sore back. I thought I needed a backiotomy, but it turns out I just needed some more Gatorade. I was glad to be done with it and able to call this thing a successful project. I just needed to come back the next day and meet up with the guy who was picking up the lifts, sign the wall, and clean up some bird shit and some drips, and call it good. On Monday, I just spent about a half hour going through with a fine-tooth comb, spot checking drips, and signed the mural. My friend Anne-Marie Genius, a local artist, stopped by and said hi. And then we called it a wrap.
Last week, the Zenith Bookstore in West Duluth celebrated its new eye-catching mural on the side of their building here. It was created by artist Jonathan Thunder. What a last name, huh? Who was inspired by Duluth when creating the mural. Fox 21's Paige Hansen brings you the story here in this week's Knowing Your Neighbor. One up.
Jonathan Thunder is an artist who focuses on many different forms of art, from painting to animation. Recently, he put his focus on creating a large mural.
Okay, on the count of three. 3, 2, 1.
Well, that's it in a nutshell, and thanks to Zenith Bookstore, thanks to the Hennepin Theater Trust Public Art folks for their mentorship and additional support, and thanks to the McKnight Foundation for additional support as well. If you like the mural image, you can buy a t-shirt of it on my website at johnthunder.com. You can check out my other merch while you're there as well. Thanks everybody for tuning in and following along. If you have any additional questions about the process, go ahead and post them in the comments, and I'll see what I can do about getting back to you ASAP. And that's all I got for you. All right.